The silent passenger. Sarah Thompson was an ordinary commuter, taking the last train home after a long day at work. The city was quiet, with most people already tucked away in their homes. The train car she boarded was nearly empty, except for a few late-night travelers scattered across the seats. She settled into her usual spot by the window, grateful for the solitude. The train rumbled to life, its wheels clattering rhythmically against the tracks. Sarah leaned back, closing her eyes, letting the gentle sway of the train lull her into a light doze. But something felt off. She opened her eyes and glanced around the car. A man, dressed in a dark coat with a hood pulled low over his face, had boarded at the last stop. He sat at the far end of the car, staring straight ahead. There was nothing particularly unusual about him, but Sarah couldn't shake the feeling of unease that crept up her spine. The train sped through the night, the lights flickering intermittently. Sarah tried to dismiss the man from her thoughts, focusing instead on the passing scenery outside. But every time she glanced back, he was there, sitting motionless, his face hidden in the shadows. As the train approached the next station, Sarah hoped the man would get off, but as the doors opened and closed, he remained in his seat, unmoving. The other passengers trickled out one by one until only Sarah and the silent passenger were left. Sarah's heart began to race. She had never felt this kind of fear before, irrational, but growing stronger with every passing moment. She considered changing cars, but the thought of moving closer to the man paralyzed her. Instead, she pulled out her phone and texted a friend, hoping for some distraction. The train slowed as it approached a tunnel, the lights flickering more frequently. The air grew colder, and Sarah's anxiety spiked. She glanced at the man again, only to find that he had turned his head ever so slightly, as if watching her from the corner of his eye. Her breath caught in her throat. The train plunged into the darkness of the tunnel, and the lights went out completely, leaving the car in total blackness. The only sound was the steady thump of her heart pounding in her ears. The lights flickered back on for a split second, and Sarah's blood ran cold. The man was no longer in his seat. Panic surged through her as she frantically scanned the car, but the man had vanished. The train emerged from the tunnel, and the lights stabilized, revealing the empty car. Sarah jumped to her feet, her instincts screaming at her to move, to get away. She rushed to the doors just as the train slowed for the next station. As the doors opened, she bolted out onto the platform, gasping for breath. She looked back at the train, expecting to see the man again, but the car was still empty. Shaking, Sarah hurried out of the station and into the safety of the bustling street. She tried to convince herself it was all in her head, that the man was just another passenger who had gotten off unnoticed. But the feeling of being watched lingered, a shadow in the back of her mind. As she walked home, she couldn't shake the sensation that someone was following her. She glanced over her shoulder, but the street was empty. The silent passenger was gone, but the fear remained, haunting her every step. Life lesson: trust your instincts. If something or someone makes you feel uneasy, it's important to listen to that feeling and take action to ensure your safety. Our intuition often picks up on things that our rational mind might miss. English lesson: phrasal verbs focus, shake off, to get rid of something, especially a feeling or thought. Bolt out, to run quickly out of a place. Glance over, to look quickly or briefly at something.